Have you ever thought about what heaven might send the club to apply to a justice of God? As it is, it looks like something from the movie, It's a Comedy in Heaven, but the one that happened in Portland, Oregon, was just that. Just imagine a scenario in which a mixture of the sacred and the surreal, where mercy was manifested in a way that is so unexpected that even the angels would be jaw-drop. Have you ever gone through something like this in your life? Maybe it's a situation that seemed impossible, but, in the end, I left without a word, with a mixture of awe and a grin on his face. This is exactly the feeling that I have to go now, because that's all I'm going to tell you. It's so absurd, and at the same time it's so real that it seems like a joke from God. And, you know, the most impressive of all, this all happened to you just at the door of a church in the old, in with the walls that guard the secrets of the ages, and which, at the time of the screw, turned into the scene of a story in which no one is going to believe it. Stay with me until the very end, because that's the story of a petty thief who tried to rob the vault of a church, but it came out, was baptized, remorse, and is surrounded by wasps and holy. That's just the beginning of a revelation that could change his views on justice and faith in the power of the unexpected. Have you ever thought that sometimes the universe sends you signs, so unusual and so funny that you seem to play God? Because this story is just that, a mixture of fun, miracles, and it's a lesson that goes well beyond the common understanding. It may seem like a joke, but it's not. This is a proof that, even in the most difficult situations, or title, of the presence of God is closer than we might think. And then, sometimes, it comes with a stinger, wings, and a swarm of bees that seem to be saying, "Don't play with God." Have you ever felt that something strange has happened to you and does not know how to explain it? Maybe it's a sign, on a hunch, or even just a coincidence that it looked more like an orientation in heaven. It's just that the start of this story, which is a mixture of the everyday and the spiritual, the human and the divine. And, best of all, is that this story, which looks like the output of a script for a comedy, the truth reveals something much deeper, that the righteousness of God, which is full of twists and turns, and at times, she comes up with the wings, spines upgrade, and a dose of humor in heaven. But, in order to understand how this all came to be, we need to immerse yourself in the scenery of the sacred, that night, in the silence and the peace of deceiving even the most attentive to, because it's something much bigger was going to happen. Now, in order to understand what is really behind all of this, we need to go to the next step. And it is precisely at this point that we began to realize that the quiet, for a more in-depth look, a lot of times you save the secrets that will only reveal when we are willing to listen with an open heart. That night, you looked so peaceful. She had a power that went beyond what the eye could see. Something very subtle, almost invisible, and began to move in the air, as if the universe was whispering a message that only a few could understand it. As we go deeper in this scenario, it is clear that there is a connection with the unseen in between everything that's happened and what is yet to come. Every detail, every silence, every breath seemed to be prepared for a time of transformation. Even in stillness, there is a force that pushes us to reflect on what's really important, to all of our experiences and our search for meaning and answers, which, very often, they are right in front of us, waiting for us to have the courage to grasp. If a story has touched your heart in some way, I say to you, I invite you to leave here in the comments that I have for you. Please share your perceptions, emotions, or even their own personal experiences relating to a period of silence, which was something very important. Your participation is what makes this community to grow and become stronger, because together, we can create a space for the exchange to be real. If you feel that this message resonated with you, and enjoy the video so that more people can also connect with the idea. And, if this is a theme that inspires you to continue to explore these mysteries in our way, take the chance to subscribe to the channel. This is an opportunity to deepen our understanding and to the strengthening of this journey of discovery. Right now, for us to continue to deepen this topic, there's something even more important what you need to understand. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because it's just that the layer is invisible, in the detail that is often overlooked when looking at the surface, which are the key to true transformation. We tend to think that change happens from the outside to the inside. You just need to want to plan, to act, but the truth is, it all starts long before that, in the sphere of silence, almost like a vibration that touches the depths of our being. This vibration is to have our own frequency, which is our way of looking at the world and ourselves. When the frequency changes, everything around you starts to react in a different way. This is such a subtle adjustment at the time. Many times we don't realize at the time, but that, in time, reveal the deep, the ones that really change the game. And for that, this is often not enough. Because it is the power of our mind, the state of the internal of our deeply held beliefs. How many times do we get stuck in thought patterns that seem to be just as if you were trapped in a spider web ceiling that prevents us from moving forward? These webs are made up of our own doubts, fears, and judgments that you might not notice it. It is a kind of self-sabotage, to be silent, that causes us to believe that we are out of luck, fate, or the circumstances that determine who we are and what we can achieve. But the fact is that this narrative can be changed if we learn to listen to the frequency of the internal and fine-tune it with the intention and awareness. It is a process of self-discovery that takes courage, because it is in our vulnerability that we find the strength, the more it is true. The journey to that inner change is non-linear, or rapid. It is like a river meets an obstacle, but, at the same time, you'll find your way around them, always growing, always changing. Every decision, every thought, every emotion, which we choose to nurture or to reject it, is shaping the frequency, such as a sculpture to recognize that you will need from time to time. And when you do that, you start to realize that the world responds to it in a way that is different to our activities. The opportunities that come, people come in a way that is more closely aligned to, and even for the challenges that seem to be less heavy, because the energy change of the scenery all around us. It is as if we are tuned in to a radio station that broadcasts out exactly what you're sending, and this is a proof that everything is connected, and that we are part of a larger system and vibration. But, of course, with this deeper understanding, brings a huge responsibility. Because everything is energy, everything is often, so we have the choices are even more important. Each of the thoughts that we feed, every word we speak, every feeling that we have cultivated, it has the power to raise or lower our vibration. And is well aware of that, it can be a burden, or a kind of liberation to it, depending on how we choose to look at it. Many people have to live conscious of that connection, and delivered him to the waves outside, the voices of others, the emotions that bring you, without even realizing that they are the true creators of our own destiny. And that's what's the power of self-knowledge, because we discover who we are. In fact, in addition to the masks, in addition to the lies that we tell ourselves, we can begin to reprogram the frequency, with a clear intention, to be in line with who you really are and what you want to manifest. And it is this reprogramming is not a matter of willpower, but for understanding it. You understand that everything you experience is a reflection directly from our house. When we change on the inside, the world is changing all around us. It's a connection that is subtle, almost like a dance, where one's energy is to perform a dance major. When we listen to these vibrations and built-in, you can pinpoint exactly what needs to be adjusted, whether it is for a belief in limited, an emotion, pent-up, or a pattern of thinking that holds us. And to make this adjustment, we take a decisive step on the road to freedom, emotional and mental well-being. It's like opening a window, which had been closed for a long time, letting the cool air, the light, and filling in every area of our work in a new light. However, for this to happen, in fact, you have to have the courage to look into the inside, with honesty and without judgment. Because sometimes the greatest strength is in our own mind, which he insists on keeping everything as it is, even if it causes us to feel trapped, unhappy, or cut off. The change begins with acceptance of who we are, right now, with all our imperfections, and the sincere desire to evolve. There are no magic formulas, just in a mindful movement to bring it in line with the truth of their heart, to rely on her own frequency, and understand that you are responsible for the fine-tune your own life. This is the essence of self-knowledge, and deeper, because it is here that we find the source of all of the transformation, the one who leads us to live with more authenticity, peace, and purpose. I now want to go more in depth on this subject. It is because of this connection, it is often the bridge to that fact hidden that many shy away from, but which, when discovered, it turns it all inside out. The truth is that we are vibrational, and the creators of our own realities, and the universe is a mirror, it responds exactly to the one that we. If we look closely, we realize that everything around you is a projection of our inner being, our emotions in a more honest and our own, more private. And, as we become more aware of this, we can begin to make choices that are more aligned with who you really are, freeing us from the patterns in the trap, and embracing a new way to be. The more you take, the more it is true. In the end, the big question is, to what extent are we truly aware of the frequency you are emitting? And, what we can do, starting today, to fine-tune this tune and create a reality which reflects our essence is pure. He comments that I came to realize the truth. This is the moment where it all begins to make sense, in a more profound way, as if a curtain is invisible, it is open, right before our eyes, revealing a scene that has always been there, hidden in our own heart. Because you are, in fact, this is often what we send out is, how to and a signature to recognize that it attracts everything around us, It's a sort of magnetism that's subtle than many of the times we don't realize it, but one that shapes its every detail that we live in. And it is precisely at this point that we need to understand that we are truly the authors of our story, the creators of our own universe is built, which automatically reflects the reality that we experience. When we first started to see this connection, we realized that our thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and even our silences, they carry a vibration that resonates more far-reaching than we can even imagine. And, at the same time, well aware of that, it gives us a huge responsibility, almost as if you're pressing to a power that is often left dormant or badly taken advantage of. The question is, to what extent are we aware of the frequency that you're sending? Do we truly realize the impact that our words, our actions, and our little things you have in the construction of an energy field, which influences everything around us? And then comes the reflection that is both simple and transformative. We will, from now on, we choose a new page. It is not something that requires a radical change from one minute to the next, but it's a constant attention and a genuine intention to align our thoughts, feelings, and what we really want to create. It may be a question that can begin to take over, to identify the patterns that lead to the issuing of low-frequency signals, such as doubt, fear, or despair, and replace them with feelings of gratitude, hope, and self-confidence. Because, deep down, this is all a matter of practice, and to reconnect with what is most true in all of us. If we think about it, this transformation is the way in which we view the world and ourselves. When you begin to realize that we are responsible for all of the things that you're attracted to, that the liability ceases to appear to be a heavy burden and an opportunity for growth. A chance to rewrite our history to create a story more in line with the core of the most pure, the one who knows that you deserve the good things, that you're able to overcome all obstacles, and that, above all else, we have the power to change our vibration to it at any time. This is a change of mindset as a key to unlock new paths, new possibilities, which before seemed to be unattainable. The real magic is in the conscious choice of how you want to feel, and, therefore, they would like to express. And the choice doesn't need to be a drama, but rather a decision-making everyday, a little attitude, attention to what we think, what we feel, and what we send out to the universe. This is how to set the focus on a camera that, when aligned, which reveals incredible detail, vibrant colors, and the landscapes, which before seemed to be far away. And the more you practice this step, the more it becomes a natural, flowing, like a dance between our inner selves and the outside world, where every step is guided by the desire to live in harmony with our deeper truth. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because, in fact, this is the frequency we emit is also a gateway to what we call self-awareness. The more aware we are of who we really are, the easier it is to fit such a time, to eliminate noise-ups that distract us, or we stray from our purpose. It is a process of listening to the silence within, to understand our own emotions without judgment, just as an indication, our vibration is present. And, in so doing, we can begin to understand that real change comes from the inside, and a connection to the true to who we really are. It's as if every thought, every feeling, and with it a note of a melody, one that you can learn to play with skill, giving to the world in a riot of authenticity and power. And, at this point, it is also important to remember that the journey to the adjustment of the frequency is non-linear. There will be a day of clarity, and the days of doubt, the days of a high vibration, and is more dense. And that's okay. Because it's all about consistency, with the intent to move, trying to remind you of your potential, even when everything seems to be messed up. Is it a daily practice to reconnect with our inner selves, to allow yourself to feel, and to act in accordance with what we really want to be revealed? And when you do that, the universe responds in a way that is almost magical in bringing the experiences and people and opportunities that resonate at exactly the same rate that we are sending. Well, the reality is starting to show a more clear and vibrant, the things that we carry within ourselves. And all of this leads us to a deeper understanding of what are the co-creators of this reality, and that every thought and emotion that has the power to shape not only our world, but also to the world around us. And that this may seem large, it is also liberating, because it gives us control of all of the things that happen in our lives. It is as if, in the understanding of such dynamics, and finally we realize that we are not victims of our circumstances, but rather, the authors of our own destiny, able to turn any situation just by adjusting our rate. And, in the process, we have found that the greatest strength is in the simplicity of keeping to this, growing emotions and rely on the strength that lies within each and every one of us. Because, deep down, this is the force that is the source of all of the processing, is the engine that drives us to create a reality in alignment with who you truly are. I now want to go more in depth on this subject. Because of this understanding, it also leads us to ask, something that is often left to the side, which is the very reason behind our vibration? Are we just reacting to external circumstances, or you really have chosen, with an open heart, how we want to feel? And it goes to a deeper reflection on authenticity, being true to our inner selves, stripped of their masks and expectations of external stakeholders. When we are able to do such a genuine connection with those who are, in fact, the rate at which we become an expression of pure, our most authentic self, and where it all lines up in a way that it seems like magic, but in fact it is the natural consequence of a life lived with consistency, courage, and self-esteem. It is an invitation to look inward, to get a feel for what it truly touches our hearts, and then deliberately choose the vibe that we would like to offer to the world. Because you are, in essence, we are all about the artists in this grand work, and it is to our lives, and each of the feelings and thoughts is a brushstroke of this screen is vibrant, they are connected with. And as long as we try to figure all of that out, it should be clear that this is a journey of self-discovery is not a straight line, or a mission that you can complete in an hour to the other. It is like a delicate dance, wherein each step, each breath, each of the silence that we reserve in the heart has a key role in the makeup of who we are. It is in this silence that too often, we find the answers to the most profound ones, the ones that we don't always get to listen to the rush of day-to-day. Because, deep down, all of the things that we are looking out for us, it is already there, hidden in our lives, just waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. And then this moment comes, when we connect with what really matters to you, and you realize that it's actually never been so close, so accessible, as at the moment of inner silence. It's like, when slowing down, the layers which hide our true essence began to fade into the background, leaving you at the side of a mirror which reflects not only who we are but who we can become. At low tide, we realize that all the things that we have felt, thought, or thought about us, all too often they are only a reflection of the story that we learn how to count and do it again without question. And there you have it. The discovery of more freedom comes the possibility of rewriting the script, in turn, each chapter of the pain or doubt, as an opportunity for growth. Because, the truth is, we are all artists of our own lives, and with each decision, each and every feeling that we have chosen to grow, it is the stroke of a brush, which gives it the color and the shape of the table you're creating. And is well aware of that, it brings immense power, and a responsibility, to be silent, that you can pick and choose which color we want to use it, what are the emotions that we want to express themselves, and that the stories we want to tell you. It's as if, once you understand this dynamic, we begin to see life with different eyes, noticing that nothing is static, everything is in constant motion, like the waves of the sea, even if they seem different, they have one of their own and unique beauty. And, in it, there comes a point when we realize that to change, too many times, it starts with a simple act of courage, a look inside you with honesty, not afraid to confront what they have found. Because, when you do this, desbloqueamos an inner force that compels us to go ahead to rewrite your story, you free the things that binds us. It is in the process of liberation that we find a kind of peace that is not dependent on external circumstances, but it is born out of alignment with their knowledge of who we really are. We have found that, when we accept and love ourselves, we are able to accept and to love the world around you in a way that is more real. The more you take, the more authentic. And it is this authenticity, and in turn, it transforms all of our relationships, our dreams, our perception of life. Because, deep down, it all comes down to is that alchemy of quiet, what happens when you decide to be loyal to the core, even if that requires the courage of everyday people, the old patterns, let go of what no longer serves us, to embrace the unknown with hope, and hope is renewed. And then, in one of those deep reflection, we realize that the quest for self-knowledge, it is not a task to be isolated, but a bridge that connects us to something greater, our own true nature, one that goes beyond the limits and expectations. It is as if, to get to know each other better, we connect to Simos with a never-ending source of power, and of love, and the knowledge and wisdom that has always been inside of us, waiting for the moment to be reckoned with. And in this recognition, we have discovered that true freedom is born from within, out of a conscious decision to be true to what we feel, what we think, what we believe to be possible. Because, in the end, we are all sailors on this great journey of discovery, of learning to trust our own intuition, our inner light, and to walk with courage, even when the path seems unclear. And while all this is happening, it is clear that for each choice, each and every sense, and every decision is an opportunity to reaffirm who we are and who we can be. And so our lives into a work of art, which shows a unique, made with love, courage, and the faith is silent in that, we are exactly in the right place at the right time, living the story you were meant to live. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Because, deep down, this is a journey of self-discovery that is not something that has to be built with the steps, both large and visible, but the small gestures and silent, that is, to adhere to, and transform our lives from the inside to the outside. It is like a seed. Even in the dark, it germinates and grows, fed by a hope in the unseen, and a certain built of, and that is what we are growing is more than just a simple change in the moment. It's a great message, that we reconnect with our true self, what you really doesn't matter. And, in doing so, we begin to understand the deeper layers of our own history, and realizing that all the things that seem to be a failure or a mistake, in fact, it was a lesson in gift, an opportunity to discard a challenge that shapes us and makes us stronger. Every decision, every doubt, every fear that you face is a key piece in the puzzle that is formed in the course of time, the one piece, which, as small as it may seem to you, it has the power to change the entire narrative of which we have written for ourselves. To our mind, and many times, we are deceiving when you try to make us believe that we are a small face, the size of the world, and that our actions do not matter, and that our emotions do not have the weight is enough to produce real change. But the truth is that it all starts within, and the way we choose to think, feel, and act. This is a choice that many times, it's more powerful than any external force, because it sets the pace and direction of our journey. And, once you understand this dynamic, we've realized that we are responsible for creating our own world, a world that reflects the courage to face the truth, accept who you are, in fact, with all of our flaws and strengths. And in that acceptance is the key to true transformation, one that is more than skin deep, but that it penetrates to the bottom, awakening to a new consciousness, a new way of looking at life. The more you take, the more authentic, more in line with what you really are. This understanding leads us to realize that all of that never-ending quest for something outside for validation, for success, for approval, a lot of times it's an attempt to fill a void that can only be filled in when you look at the inside. And this insight does not always comfortable, because you need to have the courage to confront our shadows, to admit our own limitations, to recognize our own wounds in the most hidden. But it is precisely because of this rivalry, we find the freedom that comes from understanding that we are all whole, no matter what the world tells us, or of our own questions to make you believe. When we are free of these shackles inside, we begin to live with more authenticity, more lightly on the planet, because we understand that you do not need to be perfect, just loyal to the truth. And then, when you make such a deep connection with who we really are, we realize that our actions have a far greater impact than we might have previously thought. Every word, every action, and every decision comes loaded with an energy that reverberates in our own lives and in those around us. It's like a chain, the influence of the invisible, that, if the Fed's intentions to be genuine, multiply, and cause a wave of change, a lot of times, you can't see it right away, but it will certainly leave a lasting impression on the universe of which we are under construction. It is at this point that we realize that our existence is a sequence of ups and downs, but it's a symphony of carefully orchestrated by our own choices, and intimate. Our intention is to evolve, to learn, to love. And, if you notice that a feeling of gratitude starts to take control, because we realize that we are the sole authors of our story, and that, even in the most difficult moments, we all have the power to rewrite the ending. I now want to go more in depth on this subject. Because, as we reflect on the true impact of our actions, we discover that all is not connected to a network of invisible energy and consciousness. Every thought, every feeling, every decision we make serves as a seed sown in the universe. It germinates and grows out of the ways is often surprising. And with this understanding reveals to us that what we have today is, in fact, it is a reflection of our past choices, our emotions, pent up, our questions are not addressed. It gives us hope, because it reminds us that we can start over at any time, and cultivate new thoughts, and nurturing of new emotions, acting in different ways. This is the great magic of the life, the ability to reescribirmos of our history, from the time that we take responsibility for it, with courage and love. And then, when you make such a connection, you begin to realize that the real power is in our plan to expand, our willingness to open ourselves up to what we still don't fully understand, and in our desire to change, even in silence. Because, deep down, each and every step on this path of self-discovery, it is an opportunity for us to break free of old patterns, to heal wounds, to insist on the limit to make room for a new version of ourselves that we had been ready to give birth. And this doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be true. Thus, our actions are no longer merely reactions to the circumstances, and if you make them, the manifestations are aware of who you really are, the one you choose to love, to learn and grow, regardless of all the obstacles that appear along the way. And while all this is happening, we realize that the journey is never linear. There are times when the forward run and reverse run, the question of clarity, strength, and vulnerability. And that's okay. Because in his own life, tells us that the growth happens exactly these ups and downs, these nuances. We challenge you to look deeper, to rely on the most in our lives. And then, when that trust builds, it changes everything. Because we are starting to understand that what they look like in battle, in fact, it was an opportunity for me to wake up to a new reality, a new sense of awareness. And, in the awakening, everything has changed. Our perceptions expand, our range is expanding, and that what once seemed impossible becomes just a matter of time, patience, and faith. And it is at this point that we realize that we are the architects of our own liberty, and that the real power lies in our ability to pick and choose what we cultivate within us all, and thus create a life that is truly ours. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, for this is the realization that we are the creators of our own reality and leads us to reflect on the importance of our beliefs and intimate. Too often, we carry within us the stories that we learned in childhood, which we were told that we weren't able to, that the world was once a place where it's difficult or its happiness it's something that was out of reach. In these stories, the more they seem like they're small, have a huge impact on our way of looking at life and to relate to it. But the biggest revelation is that we can rewrite it. It is open to question those beliefs and replace them with others that lift us to inspire you to move forward with determination and hope. And it is this inner transformation is the first step for all of the things that we hope to manifest in the outside world. Because, from the inside to the outside, it all starts with a shift in mindset, with a decision to believe in our ability to create a new reality. All of this tells us that, in the end, our mission is to connect you with the truth, that we are a being of light. You will be able to transform the pain into learning, fear into courage, then the limitations on the possibilities. And that this change will only happen when we step on the look of honesty, of accepting our own imperfections, and at the same time, it recognizes the infinite potential that lies within each and every one of us. In this movement of self-improvement, we have discovered that the real power lies in the core of our authenticity, and our courage to stand for what they really are. And, in doing so, we begin to live a life that is more in tune, more fulfilling, more meaningful, because we have learned that the greatest strength lies in our ability to love and give ourselves to the flow of life, with confidence and hope. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Because, deep down, this is a journey of self-discovery is a delicate dance between what we are and who we might become, a sort of puzzle, where each piece reveals a deeper layer of our lives. And, as we have tried to fit the pieces in the face of the true, hidden, a lot of times, we carry out a skin that is not our image that we have been taught to believe it to be our identity, but, in fact, it is like a shadow from the expectations of others to the standards that have been imposed. And this is the mask. The more you look comfortable or safe to do so, now we move away from our true strength, the force which is born of a genuine connection with our inner being, that space is quiet, where our intuitions, dreams, and insecurities are, and if you take them. When we begin to break down the subnet mask, we see that freedom is not something that is foreign to you, something that comes from achievement or validation, but rather an achievement of the internal decision to free ourselves from the shackles that bind you to the surface. This freedom comes from the understanding that our wounds, our own doubts, our own vulnerability, and in fact, are the keys that will open the door to authenticity, to the more in-depth. It is as if, by agreeing to our broken pieces, with our imperfections, we are building a bridge strong for your self-esteem, and a bridge that connects us to our very essence, the purest, the one that never went away. It was hidden beneath layers of fear, and this makes. And, in the process, you start to realize that life is not a battle against our own limits. It is also an opportunity for us to reinvent ourselves each and every day to turn our pain into wisdom, and our doubts into the force. This is a change of perspective. It's like an awakening silent, and a soft light that illuminates the path from the inside to the outside. And then, when we look at in this light, we felt a peace that is not dependent on external circumstances, but it is born out of a deep understanding that we are all complete, even in our imperfections. It is as if we accept Him, we begin to understand that the core does not need to be approved by the judgment or results, and because it is already enough as it is as a whole, it is already perfect in its imperfection. And with this understanding frees us to live more lightly on the planet, with no hope, knowing that every step we take is an expression of our truth. It is a declaration of love for those who we really are. And then, by exploiting this fact, we also found that the biggest impact we can have on the world is, precisely, that of authenticity. When we show the truth, no masks, which we have inspired others to do the same. And so, we've created a chain of light, which is more than we are, to a transforming power that comes from the heart, not from the surface. Because, at the end of the day, the real power lies in the courage to be vulnerable, to surrender to the flow of life, of hope, and faith in Him, even when everything seems to be uncertain or challenging. This is the movement of shipping. We find our true freedom, one that lets us dance to the rhythm of the universe with an open heart, the soul, and the light. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because, in essence, all that we seek is a true connection with ourselves, is a bridge that connects us to who we really are, in addition to the masks, and living up to expectations. And, in this connection, it is a continuous journey, a discovery that is never-ending, as each layer removed reveals a new opportunity to love, to understand, to accept. When you are learning to look for with compassion, we see that the greatest secret of life is in the simplicity of being who you are, and to embrace our light and our shadow with the same level of intensity, with no fear, hope, and courage. Because, deep down, that this is the only way to really get rid of that is to turn one's own limitations under the stairs for a life that is more full, more real, more of us. And, in this way, the biggest revelation is that all the things that we are looking out there, all of the validation of any achievement, it only makes sense if it is the assurance of those who are in the know. When you connect with that truth, and everything around you takes on a new meaning, and we begin to see that your life is a reflection of what we grow on the inside. So, every decision, every choice, is an expression of that authenticity, and with an opportunity to affirm our experiences and create a reality in alignment with our heart. And, even in the face of adversity, in this connection that sustains all of us, because it reminds us that we are more than our fears, and most of our questions, we are on a never-ending source of love, hope, and transformation. That is why it is so important for us to understand that true change begins from the inside to the outside. No point in looking for answers outside if you're not willing to look inward. To face our shadows are brave and embrace your emotions with your love. It is this vulnerability that we find the strength of the purest. Most of that comes from the recognition that we are in a constant state of evolution, always looking for a version that is closer to the truth than we do ourselves. And then, when you do this movement, we realize that life isn't a race, so reach out to us, but it's a journey of constant discovery of what we are capable of being in love, and you can create it when we align ourselves with our deepest core. And, if you think about all of this, it is clear that it is the greatest gift we can give ourselves. It's the courage to be yourself, to be free from the bondage unseen fear and surrender to the flow of life, with a renewed hope. Because, in an act of boldness, we find that the real power to transform any event into an opportunity to grow, to love, and to connect with what really matters to you. And, even in the most difficult times, that inner strength to remind us that we are capable of rewriting our history, the new day, to be born again from the ashes of our own doubts and to find the beauty in your imperfections, in your vulnerability, and authenticity that it's just ours. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, because, really, what we seek is a true connection with ourselves, is a bridge that connects us to who we really are, in addition to the masks, and living up to expectations. And, in this connection, it is a continuous journey, a discovery that is never-ending, as each layer removed reveals a new opportunity to love, to understand, to accept. When you are learning to look for with compassion, we see that the greatest secret of life is in the simplicity of being who you are, and to embrace our light and our shadow with the same level of intensity, with no fear, hope, and courage. Because, deep down, that this is the only way to really get rid of that is to turn one's own limitations under the stairs for a life that is more full, more real, more of us. And, in this way, the biggest revelation is that all the things that we are looking out there, all of the validation of any achievement, it only makes sense if it is the assurance of those who are in the know. When you connect with that truth, and everything around you takes on a new meaning, and we begin to see that your life is a reflection of what we grow on the inside. So, every decision, every choice, is an expression of that authenticity, and with an opportunity to affirm our experiences and create a reality in alignment with our heart. And, even in the face of adversity, in this connection that sustains all of us, because it reminds us that we are more than our fears, and most of our questions, we are on a never-ending source of love, hope, and transformation. And while such an understanding is established within us, we find that the true freedom happens when we let go of the masks, which we have created to fit into a world that too often do not understand or do not accept all of our experiences. It is as if, for a long time, we have forgotten that authenticity is not a weakness, but rather a quiet strength that is pressed into the bottom of each one. Such a force, when it is recognized, it becomes a guiding light that brightens up the darkest reaches of my soul, revealing our vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, but of courage. And in this process of awakening, we begin to understand that life is not a battle against each other, but a journey of self-discovery, where every obstacle is an opportunity to connect more deeply with who we really are. It is at this point that the question will no longer be invasive and to make calls for a reflection on the genuine one. Who am I beyond the expected, beyond what other people want me to be? What happens when, instead of fighting against your own limitations, we have decided to embrace them, learn from them, and is, therefore, to turn each one on a bridge to our world? This is a very powerful, because by accepting our own imperfections, we design an idealized image of ourselves, and we live more lightly on the planet, with the most sincerity. And, in doing so, we realize that the real power lies in the authenticity of each and every moment, and the courage to be who you are with all of our nuances, without any fear our scars, our doubts, or our passions, the more hidden. When this connection happens, it's a sort of wake-up inside and if revealed, and we have started to look at life in a broader perspective, the most compassionate, the most loving. It is as if, by giving up control, permittissimos that we are with the possibility that we could ever imagine, because of our commitment, becomes the bridge between who we are and who we can become. And there you have it, everything you win a meaning that is much deeper and more beautiful, genuine, that it is born out of the recognition that we are ever changing, always learning, always evolving. In the process, the hope is no longer an expectation, empty, and if it turns into a quiet surety that no matter what happens, there is a greater power guiding us, a power that is born of our authenticity and the love that we have cultivated on our own. It is a journey that requires courage, yes, but also the tenderness and infinite, for who we are becoming. And the more we surrender to the truth, the more we realize that life is a dance, a song that only our hearts can hear it and follow it. Every step, every stumble, every step forward, it's all part of the script that we write with authenticity, courage, love. So, what seems to be a constant struggle becomes, in celebration of our growth, it's a celebration of our essence is pure and true. Because, after all, the greatest freedom is to be true to ourselves even if that means walking trails in the unknown, in defiance of what the world was waiting for, and embracing who you truly are. And, in this way, we have found that the greatest gift we can give ourselves is just the courage to be authentic, to let go of the mask, and let our inner selves to shine without fear, without reservation, with all of the beauty that it holds. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line. To immerse yourself in the reflection, we realize that authenticity is not a destination but a continuous journey, and a dance with no end, invites us to explore every layer of our being, with the understanding that our emotions are hidden, to accept our deepest doubts, and to celebrate our victories, the most quiet in operation. It is a process of self-discovery, which, many times, it is about having the courage to face the truths that we would prefer to conceal it, but that when faced with love and compassion, to free us from the shackles that not even realize it exists. The freedom to be who you are. In fact, it's a great message that you get from the inside to the outside, a change that influences all around us, and making the world a more genuine, full of possibilities are real. And, as we move forward on this path, we realize that our greatest strength lies in the simplicity of have to accept that we are imperfect, that we are in the building, and it's okay to not have all the answers. Because you are, in fact, the beauty of life lies in that the mystery is in the ability to reinventamos every day, and for us to get up after every fall, we move forward even when the path seems unclear. It is a constant invitation to trust in one's own essence, the strength that comes from self-love, and make sure that, in doing so, we are contributing to a reality more real, more compassionate, and more aligned with our higher purpose. And when you understand it, it is clear that authenticity is a bridge that connects us with the universe, with the infinite possibilities that exist within us all. Because, deep down, we are the creators of our own history, and will be able to transform every moment into an opportunity for growth, healing, and love. And when the question comes up, they will no longer be an enemy and an ally, as it challenges us to look more deeply into the question our certainties, and the discovery of new truths which lead us to a more and more conscious of ourselves. In the process of self-discovery, we've learned that there is no magic formula. There is a recipe for happiness is just a courage to be yourself, to listen to what your heart really wants, even if it's in a little in different ways than we had expected. Because, in the end, the greatest victory of peace that we find to be true to our essence, to be able to recognize that we are all unique, imperfect, awesome, and full on our way. And, well, life is no longer a battle, and it turns out to be a dance and a harmonious, wherein each step, the more awkward it may seem, is part of the routine that only we can choreograph. And in this dance, each movement is an expression of love, courage, and freedom. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this topic. Well, when you dive deeper into this idea, we see that this transformation is not something that happens at one time or another, nor is it the result of a simple change of attitude towards the surface. It's a real journey of self-discovery, a silent, that's going to creep up in our lives, often without our realization. It's like opening a door that was locked away for years, is a door that holds the memories, fears, dreams, forgotten, or suppressed, and when you get through all the things that seem to be heavy, difficult, if not impossible, in face, he begins to gain a new perspective. That door is, in fact, it's our own fear of being vulnerable, of showing whom we really are. We allow ourselves to feel with no filter or mask. And the more that we explore the vulnerability, the more we realize that it is, in fact, it is a bridge to the power of the most genuine, and the opportunity for us to break free from old restraints that keep us moving. As we reflect on this day, we believe that the greatest strength is the courage to face the one who feel it, to accept it in our own shadow, without judgment or condemnation. It's a kind of alchemy, the emotional, where the fear is transformed into the force, to a pain in the learning process, and all the questions in the interests of clarity. In the process, we discover that the truth is hidden behind our own limitations. That is, in the majority of the time, it's a big lie that we've created to protect us from the unknown. And that lie is, the more it looks comfortable, it ends up in the trapping of a comfort zone that does not allow us to grow in the truth. When we begin to see the truth that is hidden, everything will change. In our view, if you zoom in, your heart will open, and what appeared to be a prison, it turns into an opportunity for transformation. Every decision that we make in this way, it is like a seed planted in the good soil of our hearts and minds. And then, just like a seed, you need to be careful, pay attention, and the courage to grow. And our choices are too demanding for us as a provision of continuing to take the helm of your own story. It is a dance of self-confidence, in which we learn to trust our intuition, which, in the opinion of others, and that's where each and every step taken in the direction of our true selves in the approach of authenticity is the most pure. Oftentimes, the journey is quiet, barely visible to the eye outside, but the impact on the inside of us is a profound and long-lasting. It is in silence that we find the answers to the most important ones, the ones that can only be revealed when we listen to what our soul really wants. And, after finding that more intimate connection with ourselves, we understand nothing of the outside world can fill up the void that we have when we are separated from ourselves. This is the quest for authenticity is, in fact, a search for a true connection, a bridge that takes us back to our roots, to the very essence of what we really are. It is a journey of discovery that requires patience, compassion, and a look at kind of our own imperfections. Because, deep down, we are all the works on the construction of learning how to accept and love every part of us, even those who would prefer to hide it. And that's all. The big revelation is that true freedom is born from within, and when we let go of the chains that we have created in our own minds, when we fight for what we are and we embrace our deepest truth. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because, when you understand the dynamics, we find that the greatest power we have is of our choice in how we react to those circumstances. Our ability to turn pain into strength, fear, courage, doubt, in clarity, and this is the one that really defines us. And it is that choice. And often, it seems simple, but it's the most powerful that we can do this. It is a decision that the daily rate of us put in charge of our own history, and to the external environment on the set or on the track. It is a kind of internal revolution, a silent revolution that begins with small acts of courage, authenticity, and self-esteem. When we realize that we are the authors of our own destiny, our perspective changes completely. Each challenge becomes an opportunity for growth, and every obstacle is a gateway to a stronger version of ourselves. And, in the process, we have learned that freedom is not the absence of trouble, but in the ability to face it with courage and accept it. It is like to sail on the sea is rough, knowing that the tide will rise and fall, but that, in essence, we are able to maintain the stability of the forward with faith in our own strength. That strength, that confidence comes from a deep understanding that there is nothing external that can take us out of the center if we are in alignment with who you truly are. It is a connection with a purpose, aligned with our essence is what gives us the strength to carry on even when everything seems to be crumbling around us. And this time, this clarity is what enables us to live more lightly on the planet, with more authenticity and more love for yourself and for what you can create. For this reason, when you think about all of this, we found that the greatest change happens when we stop seeking validation outside, and we started to validate who we really are on the inside. When we let go of the fear of being different, fear of not pleasing, fear of failure, and we begin to allow ourselves to be who we truly are, without masks, without shortcuts, without any charges to the outside. It is at this point that in the past life, the flowing one way, lighter in weight, more fully, more in tune with our deeper purpose. And, in doing so, we found out that the biggest secret to it is the courage to be authentic. To the courage of us, we can show you that vulnerable, and at the same time in game. Because, deep down, this is a combination of bravery and vulnerability is what makes us human, full length, to be free, to create a reality which reflects our essence is pure. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. Because, when you understand the dynamics, we find that the very essence of our power lies in our ability to choose who we are going to be in the face of adversity, how we are going to position ourselves in front of our own limitations. And that choice is the one that turns an ordinary life into an extraordinary life, a life of achievement and peace of mind. And when you understand it, we are invited to reflect on how often we let fear, doubt, or the opinions of others keep you from living fully and authenticity. How many times do we hide behind excuses, or to standards which do not belong to us really? What if, instead, we start to look inside and realize that everything we need is already within us, just waiting for the moment to be revealed? This is the real key to unlocking our potential for awakening to the one who knows what it is capable of transforming any setting, with any pain and fear, in an opportunity to be reborn. And all of this is, in fact, it is a matter of decision-making. In a decision of whether or not to connect with the essence of trust in your intuition and follow your heart, even when everything around us seems to indicate the opposite. Because, at the end of the day, life is a dance, from the choices of the steps that we take in the direction of what we really believe to be true and worthwhile. And the more aligned you are with the truth, the more fluid it will be on our way, the more the light will be on our steps, and in a more profound is the impact on the world around us. Each and every one of us carries a unique light. The truth can only be revealed to us when we allow ourselves to be who we really are. And, in doing so, we discover that freedom in its purest form, it is the courage to be ourselves, to love ourselves exactly as we are, with all our imperfections and our insecurities, our dreams, and our ability to pay. And so, in the process of self-discovery and transformation, we have learned that the greatest gift that we can give you is the willingness to look within, to listen to that quiet voice that guides us, that connects us with our inner selves more fully. Because of that, we are not only changing our history, but also to contribute to a bigger change, a wave of authenticity, and the courage that can transform lives, families, communities, and the world. And, in it, we realize that it all begins within ourselves, that the real revolution is happening in our minds, in our hearts, and in our attitude to everyday choosing to love you, trust you, and move forward even when the path seems unclear. Because, deep down, that's the essence of it all, the courage to be who you truly are and embracing the potential that resides in each and every one of us. And when you understand it, you start to realize that with the freedom that you have been searching for out there, a lot of times, it is already within us, hidden under the layers of doubt, fear, and expectations, which we from time to time. It is as if, in the silence of our inner being, there was a seed waiting for the right time for you to grow, to blossom and show off all of its beauty. And that is the seed of our most pure, and that which has not been shaped by the patterns, and by the opinions of others, or for the failings that we have. It is a substance that, when discovered, it gives us the strength to move forward, even in the face of the storms, which seem to be of the clear light. Because, deep down, the real strength does not come from the effort of the external, but also the alignment with the things that are, in fact, the connection with a purpose, and the feeling that we are living on our own journey in a unique and non-transferable. Each and every decision we take, every step we take, it is an opportunity to reinforce this connection, the fact that we are the authors of our story and the architects of our own destiny. And that's somehow it all. It becomes a pain in the learning process, a failure in the step, the question is in clear view. When we feel that authenticity is pulsing within us, we begin to see the world in a different way, more light, more generosity, more human. And then, what seemed to be an insurmountable obstacle becomes an opportunity for growth, a chance to reinvent ourselves and to discover the strengths we didn't know how to possess. It's a kind of awakening silent, almost in a subtle, but it has far-reaching impacts, such as those who are going to spread through the whole of our hearts and minds to change the way we think about life and our own limitations. Because you are, in fact, everything that limits us, it's just a story that we have created in our mind. It is a story that we have learned to believe is the truth, but they can be overridden at any time. You just choose to take it a step above and beyond what we hold on to the past. And this decision is a daily, constant renewal of the commitment that we make to ourselves to live an authentic, accepting who you are, with all our imperfections, and to recognize that this is way more real, more meaningful. When we let go of the weight of one's identity that does not belong to us really, and we begin to experience a true freedom, lightness, that goes beyond the external environment, for she was born with the realization that we are, our flaws, our doubts, and our fears. We are the sum total of all of the things that we've learned, but also what we can create from the moment we allow ourselves to be who we truly are, without masks, no hiding places. And, in the process, we have found that our greatest strength lies in vulnerability, and the courage to show who they really are, to be open to the world, and even the fear of judgment, because you know, deep down, that's the core of it is valuable, and unique must-have. This understanding leads us to a point where change is no longer an opinion, scary, and will be out invitations, to evolve, to be reunited with those parts of ourselves that we have always known it existed, but that, for some reason, we fail to listen to it. Right now, each and every choice, every action is a statement of self-love, and a statement that you deserve to live a life that is authentic, fully in line with who you really are. And so, the journey becomes more and more light, the more vibrant one, full of purpose, because, in the end, it all comes down to having the courage to be ourselves, to trust our own potential, and to realize that growth is the most profound happens when we allow ourselves to get out of your comfort zone, to embrace our imperfections, and accept that true transformation comes from the inside. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. You know, when you start to see the change that we seek outside us, it only happens when you first make your peace with that which we are, from the inside, something that proves to be of a different shape. It's quiet, which is often overlooked in the rush of day-to-day, and that is what really connects us to our power of the real thing. It's like, when to slow down, to listen to our own minds, we can understand that the freedom to be who we are, it is not an achievement of the exterior, but an achievement of the internal decision to get rid of all of the things that prevents us from seeing the light. And to that freedom, that seems to be so simple. In fact, it is a silent revolution, a transformation that begins in the soul, and it manifests itself in the world around us. It is at this point that we realize that we don't need your validation, approval, recognition, external in order to be complete, because all of the things that we have already taken up is dwelling inside of us, waiting and hoping that we decide to open our eyes to the truth. It is like a portal, which opens up a new dimension of existence, a place where everything makes sense, where every challenge is an opportunity to reaffirm who we are and what we are capable of. Because, in the end, the greatest victory is to be able to look in the mirror and recognize who we are. Above all, it is the source of love, strength, courage, and authenticity. And, in the awakening, we begin to understand that life is not a matter of coming to a place outside, but if you transform into a better version of yourself, learn to live with the things that really matter, and with an open heart and mind, free of judgment. This is the very essence of freedom, the coming of the achievements in the materials, or to the status, but that which is born of the recognition that we are enough, just the way we are, and that the universe conspires in favor of the one who accepts its own light. And it is at this point of acceptance that everything is changed, everything is aligned, that is, the past life, the flowing one way, lighter in weight, more real, more full of meaning. Because, after all, the greatest magic is in you realize that the more radical change happens when we stop looking on the outside things that can only be found within ourselves. And this is the one that truly liberates us. It changes us and makes us realize that we are capable of everything, when you are connected to our essence is genuine. And so, we went with an open heart, aware of the fact that the path to true freedom is to go on a journey of self-discovery, courage, and love, itself, is a journey that doesn't end, but that is renewed each and every day, in every choice, every step that we take towards our own inner. I now want to go more in depth on this topic. If you stayed this far, it's because this message really touched you in some way. Few people make it to the end, and if you are here, surely this reflection made sense to your heart. Comment there, I'm with you until the end, so I know that this connection was true for you too. You've already taken an important step in opening yourself up to this content, and it shows that your willingness to grow and understand more about yourself is strong. Take this moment to subscribe to the channel, because here we continue walking together, exploring themes that help strengthen this journey of self-knowledge. And if this message brought you some inspiration, leave your like. This way, you strengthen this reflection and help more people find that same meaning. Every gesture, no matter how simple it may seem, makes all the difference when it comes to spreading this energy of transformation. And now, if you want to continue this conversation, there is a video here on the side that complements this subject. Click and follow me there. The journey doesn't end here. It just goes one step further, and I want to be by your side in each of them. Staying until the end is proof that you value this process of growth, and this is beautiful to see. So stay with me, because the next stage of this reflection is waiting for you. This journey is mine too, and together, we can go even further. Thank you for being here, for listening, for allowing yourself to feel. Every word, every silence, Every insight shared here is an invitation for you to reconnect with your true self, always with lightness, with hope, and with the certainty that the best path is the one we walk with love and courage.